Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, Mike Lindell sent me a note yesterday. He has a special for the 6-piece towel set, $25 when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. You'll get the $25 offer on the 6-piece towel set, and I promise you, these will be the most comfortable, the most absorbent towels that you own. mypillow.com, use promo code Joey, get the 6-piece towel set for just $25. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Senator J.D. Vance squared off with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz in the CBS vice presidential debate last night. We have some of the highlights for you. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promises Iran will pay for its grave mistake in launching missiles toward Israel yesterday. We have the latest on the attack on Israel as well. Electrical utility companies are reporting more substations are online, which means more people are getting their electrical service back in the Carolinas. But we're a long way from recovering from the devastation of Hurricane Helene. Also, we'll talk with a small-town mayor to discuss the challenges of restoring services and cleaning up his town with limited resources.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson Bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson Bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Both Democrat Tim Walz and Republican J.D. Vance promised voters a new direction for the U.S. in their closing remarks as the vice presidential debate concluded yesterday. Kamala Harris is bringing us a new way forward, Walz said. She's bringing us a politics of joy. She's bringing real solutions for the middle class, and she's centering you at the heart of that, all the while asking everyone to join the movement and make your voices heard. That was Tim Walz. J.D. Vance also gave a message of change to the voters, saying, quote, "We need change. We need a new direction. We need a president who has already done this once before and did it well," he said. "Please vote for Donald Trump, and whether you vote for me or vote for Tim Walz, I just want to say I'm proud to be doing this, and I'm rooting for you." Both candidates have been seeking to win the race to be seen as the change candidate, a race in which Harris may have a particular difficult path due to the current role as vice president and the 3.5 years that she's had to perform some of the things she's promising now. Republican lawmakers and top voices reacted as the Minnesota governor and Senator Vance squared off. It was in New York City. CBS hosted. Trump 2024 National Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt wrote on X, "Senator J.D. Vance spitting the cold, hard truth on Trump. The debate stays tonight. Total domination. We're only 20 minutes in," they said. The debate in New York City on CBS News was Walz and Vance's only debate prior to the monumental election on November the 5th. Tim Walz is as radical as they come on the issues of immigration, Representative Tom Emmer wrote on X. As governor of Minnesota, he supported free health care, free college tuition, and driver's licenses for illegal immigrants. Innocent Americans have been assaulted and murdered because of his border policy. That, again, Tom Emmer. Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas wrote on X, "Tim Walz's answer on Israel was incomprehensible. Like Kamala, Walz has no idea what he's talking about." Kamala and Walz would make further chaos in the Middle East, Senator Cotton says. Trump congratulated Vance after the debate, saying that he had done a good job. He said, or he wrote, "Great job, JD. We will make America great again," posting that on his Truth Social app. He told reporters during a campaign event in Wisconsin earlier that he wanted Vance to have fun. When asked what advice he had for his running mate, he just said simply, "Get up there and have fun." It comes after initial doubts by some within the GOP about whether Vance and Trump would be an appealing ticket to voters in November. I got to say, I think J.D. Vance knocked it out of the park last night. I'll be honest, too, and say I'm not so sure that Tim Walz, I don't think he did a bad job either. But he did trip up a bit when he was forced to answer questions about his controversial travel to China and misstatements about those trips during last night's debate. Walz has said that he was in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are now reporting that Walz actually did not travel to China until August of that year. CBS News moderator Margaret Brennan asked Walz to explain the discrepancy. He said, look, I grew up in a small rural Nebraska town, a town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the street lights came on, and I'm proud of that service, he said. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher. He went on to say, as a passionate young teacher, he had the opportunity in the summer of 89 to travel to China 35 years ago. He said, I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. He never did really answer the question on the discrepancy of his dates. He said, look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. I will be the first to tell you I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. So I guess he was saying, and when he added, and I'm a knucklehead at times. So I guess he was saying, well, maybe I really wasn't in China when I said I was in China. I'm not sure. I think that was probably one of his worst moments in the last night's debate, because you could tell he wasn't quite sure how to respond. He stammered, he stumbled, and it was a simple question. Were you in China when you said you were? He obviously knows that he wasn't, but he didn't want to say that. Why not just admit it? Why not just say, look, I got my dates wrong? We all do that. Walz said that he would make the case that Donald Trump should have come on one of those trips to China with him. Again, talking about Trump going on a trip to China doesn't answer why you've said you were someplace that you really weren't, evidently. He was critical of Trump cozying up to the Chinese leaders, saying that he guaranteed he wouldn't start a trade war that ends up losing like Trump did. He said, so this is about trying to understand the world. It's about trying to do the best you can for your community. Then it's putting yourself out there and letting your folks understand what it is. No answer there. No answer. Brennan did push back, reminding Walz of the question and again asking him to explain the discrepancy. He still didn't do it. He did not answer why he had said, and again, he had another perfect opportunity to clarify. He failed to do so. One of the high marks for J.D. Vance, I think, was when he pushed back on the CBS News moderators who attempted to fact-check him in a contentious moment during the debate last night. Despite CBS announcing that it would not allow live fact-checking during the debate, moderator Margaret Brennan interjected to correct Vance after he suggested that illegal immigrants are overwhelming resources in Springfield, Ohio. Brennan said, just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status. When Vance tried to push back on the fact check, Brennan and her co-moderator, Nora O'Donnell, attempted to speak over Vance, insisting that they had to move on to the next question. Vance reminded them, the rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check. And since you are fact checking me, I think it's important to say what actually is going on. While explaining the process of attaining legal status and tying it to the Harris-backed immigration policy, the moderators again spoke over Vance, thanking him for describing the legal process before they cut off his microphone. They did. They literally cut off his microphone as Governor Walz attempted to argue with him. Brennan said before urging O'Donnell again to move on to the next question, Senator, we have so much we have to get to. Thank you so much for explaining the legal process. The audience can't hear you, she said, because your mics are cut. It was obvious that we couldn't hear them, and we could hear the moderators. Again, it's just another example of how the mainstream media is not fair when it comes to these things, because they had made it very clear. They made a point of the fact that they would not be fact checking, yet they very much did in that case. And kudos to J.D. Vance for calling him out on it. Folks on social media really took Tim Walz to task at one point when he misspoke. He kind of baffled the internet when he accidentally declared that he has become friends with school shooters. Now, it's not exactly what he meant to say. It was a poorly timed mishap. Walz was asked about changing positions on banning assault weapons, which he previously opposed but now supports. He said, I've sat in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Now, that's not exactly what he meant to say, because I don't think Tim Walz is friends with school shooters. But as you can imagine, the social media blew up when he said that. Walz presumably meant that he's become friendly with parents who lost children during some of the horrific school shootings, not that he has become friends with the actual school shooters. Walz said that he's become friends with school shooters when he meant victims is an innocent misstatement. Repeatedly lying about his military rank, his DUI, IVF in Hong Kong and Tiananmen Square are not innocent misstatements, according to Guy Benson, as he was responding to the mishap. What do you think? Did we have a clear winner last night? Send me a quick text message. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Email's always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. PhD Weight Loss wants you to know, yes, you can. You can get back to your ideal healthy weight. Yes, you can get back into sizes you thought you'd never see again. And yes, you can get rid of that harmful belly fat, all without becoming dependent on medication loaded with side effects. Hi, it's Joey Hudson here. PhD Weight Loss encourages and equips you to lose weight the healthy, natural way and keep it all for the rest of your life. Dr. Ashley Lucas, a licensed registered nutritionist, developed a solid plan that works. Trust me, I lost 30 pounds. You see, PhD Weight Loss removes the guesswork. They literally tell you exactly what to eat each day while you watch the pounds melt away. But they also teach you to think about food differently and to learn to anticipate and navigate situations that make you want to indulge. PhD coaches will teach you to believe finally that yes, you can do it. With no gimmicks or lifelong medications, finally lose the weight and keep it off. Yes, you can. Call today. PhD Weight Loss, 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. 6 people were killed and 9 injured during a Tuesday night terrorist attack in Israel around the same time that a large barrage of rocket fire targeted the Jewish state from Iran. The 6 civilians were either shot and stabbed in Tel Aviv, according to the Israeli police. A police spokesperson said 2 terrorists who started a killing spree on the light rail and continued on foot were neutralized. No information was released on the condition of the 9 people injured. About the same time was when the nearly 200 missiles targeted Israel in an attack by Iran. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued a stern warning to Iran after the country attacked Israel with hundreds of rockets yesterday. The Prime Minister began his statement by acknowledging the rocket attacks, which were thwarted thanks to Israel's air defense system, which is the most advanced in the world, he said. In a statement, he said, I commend the IDF for this impressive achievement. I also thank the United States for its support of our defense efforts. Iran made a grave mistake this evening, and it will pay for it, he said. The regime in Iran does not understand our determination to defend ourselves and our resolve to retaliate against our enemies. The U.S. response to Iran's attack against Israel included firing about a dozen interceptors to shoot down some of the nearly 200 ballistic missiles that were launched. The Pentagon confirmed that the interceptors were fired from the USS Cole and the USS Buckley. These are guided missile destroyers in the eastern Mediterranean. Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Pat Ryder said in a statement there was minimal damage to the ground in Israel. The U.S. was not giving advance warning, he said, of the attack, and no American personnel were injured. He said, quote, I'm not aware of any pre-warning by Iran about the potential attack. As you know, this is something we've been following very closely for a while. Former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett called for the destruction of Iran's nuclear program, saying Israel has the greatest opportunity in 50 years to what he called change the face of the Middle East. He posted on X, the octopus's tentacles are temporarily paralyzed. Now comes the head. He said Iran, which used to be good at chess, made a mistake by launching a barrage of missiles at Israel yesterday. In his post, he said, we must act now to destroy Iran's nuclear program, its central energy facilities, and to fatally cripple this terrorist regime. He said to strike the head of the octopus of terror, that is, in its cowardice, send its tentacles, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthis, to murder us while the Ayatollahs sat safely in their palaces in Tehran. He added, the octopus tentacles are temporarily paralyzed. Now comes the head. He further said Tehran has committed a range of atrocities against the Jewish state over the past year, including its proxies raping and kidnapping Israeli children. Meanwhile, House Republican leaders said the strategy of appeasement to Iran has failed following its brazen attack on Israel hours earlier. In a joint statement from House Speaker Mike Johnson, Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Majority Whip Tom Emmer, and Chairwoman Elise Stefanik, they said Iran is again brazenly attacking Israel with a barrage of rocket fire and an apparent coordinated terrorist attack. The world is watching as Israeli families seek safety and shelter as waves of missile attacks light up the sky. The strategy of appeasement has failed, and a policy of interdiction is not enough, they said. The GOP leaders called for the Biden administration to continue to stand with Israel as it plots its response. In their statement, they said, American leadership has never been more important, and the world should now know that the United States will continue to stand firmly with Israel as it fights for its very survival. And they're right. This is a time that we have to stand up. We have to show the world that America is going to stand with Israel. Does not matter who attacks them, when they attack them. America is always going to be standing firmly with Israel, and Iran needs to understand, if they're attacking Israel, they're attacking us, and they're going to have to pay for this. They're going to be responsible for what they started. Now, look, things have just been crazy in that region for almost a year now. I mean, what are we? 5 days away from October 7th, when this all really came to a head, when Hamas came across the border and attacked Israel last year. And this is only going to increase the tensions over there. And the U.S., we have to let them know, whether it's Hamas, whether it's Hezbollah, Iran, anybody, we have to let them know. And I hope that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, that they claim they were in a situation room yesterday, and I'm not quite sure how safe that is, to have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris both in the situation room. Can you imagine how that conversation went? Now I'm joking. I'm making light of this. It's a very serious situation. But truly, can you imagine having Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in a situation room over something as serious as an attack on Israel and potentially starting a nuclear war? Wow. That's why November the 5th is so important. That's why we have to be sure Kamala Harris does not move into the Oval Office when Joe Biden leaves in January. We have to be sure that Donald Trump has his finger on the button, that Donald Trump is the one who will be calling the shots. House Speaker Mike Johnson called on the Biden-Harris administration to stop giving billions of dollars in sanctions relief to Iran and enforce all sanctions against the country to the fullest. Johnson delivered remarks at the New York Stock Exchange yesterday, bringing up the latest attack by Iran against Israel. He said, "We're praying for the safety of the Israeli families, of course, and the House GOP leadership is urging the Biden-Harris administration to deliver a strong message to the Iranian regime that this is unjustified violence and terror, and it has to end." He said, "We also have to recognize that it's hypocritical for the administration to express support for Israel's defense while continuing to appease the Iranian regime with billions or hundreds of billions of dollars in sanctions and relief." And he's right. If Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are really serious about this, if they really stand by Israel as they say they do, then now's the time to show it. Now's the time to stand strong. Now's the time to, again, let the world know that this is non-negotiable. And we're truly standing by Israel. And Kamala Harris is going to need to pick up the rhetoric out on the campaign trail because, Iran and Hamas and these terrorist leaders, they listen to that stuff. They listen to what the candidates are saying out on the trail. Wow. Of course, number one is we have to pray for Israel as well. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. Like all upstate cities and towns, Cowpens was hit pretty hard by Hurricane Helene. The damage done. Now it's time for the cleanup. On our guest line is the mayor of Cowpens, Jared Spencer. Glad to have you on with us, Mr. Mayor. How are things in Cowpens, and how are you doing?
I'm doing good, given the circumstances. Joey, thanks for having me on.
Sure thing. Always a pleasure. Jared Spencer, mayor of Cowpens. Before we get into the damage Hurricane Helene did to your town, last week, when we first started talking about the interview, it was with the idea that we're going to do a series of interviews with mayors spotlighting the cities and the towns in the upstate area. So before we get into what you're dealing with now, give me your mayor's elevator speech on Cowpens.
I'd be glad to, Joey. You know, we're in historic town, of course. One of the turning points of the Revolutionary War was the Battle of Cowpens. So we have a long history. We were actually not chartered till 1880, incorporated in 1900. But Cowpens, the name, goes back a lot longer than that, all the way back to the Revolutionary War. So we're pretty proud of that. And in turn, because of the war, the U.S. Navy has honored us by naming not only an aircraft carrier, World War II aircraft carrier, titled the USS Cowpens. It was commissioned, served in World War II, decommissioned. Then they honored us again by commissioning a ship in 91, a cruiser vessel, the USS Cowpens, and it was just recently decommissioned less than a month ago.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to have another ship named after us. That's a bit of information a lot of people don't realize. Such a small town, and we've had a long history with the Revolutionary Battle. Aircraft carrier named USS Cowpens, a cruiser ship named USS Cowpens. We're just a very patriotic, proud community.
Yeah. Talk with us about the significance of the battle at Cowpens and how your town got its name and some of that history.
The significance of the battle in Cowpens, you know, General Daniel Morgan, of course, turned the tide in the war. It was supposed to be a ragtag redneck group that Charleston was supposed to come in and beat. He got pleasantly surprised, providentially, of course, in Cowpens, and it turned the tide to the war. So we're very proud of that. And the actual name of Cowpens, there used to be, we were kind of like a hub, and a specific family, the Hannas at the time, had cows and farms all around the area, so it began to be called Hanna's Cowpens. So, in short, eventually it just became known as Cowpens. Then the Battle of Cowpens happened.
Yeah.
So that's where our name comes from. So, a lot of history here.
Yep.
A lot of proud people.
Yep. On our guest line today, Jared Spencer, mayor of Cowpens. Wow, Jared, what a storm, huh? Do you guys have utility service restored in your town?
Well, we're working on it. As of right now, you know, Cowpens got hit way harder than anybody imagined. I've never seen a storm like this in my lifetime. I remember Hugo in the early 90s, barely. I know it was bad from those older than me. This produced a lot more damage in our town than Hugo did. So we've never had a storm like this. How do you even prepare for a storm like this, especially as a small town? So on the budget that a small town has, we're a town of 2,100 people and between 800 and 900 houses. So it's just totally caught us off guard. Just about everybody in town was out of power. Not just out of power, limited internet access, limited cell phone capabilities. A lot of the people in the Cowpens area didn't even have any water for several days till Sunday. So just pouring fuel on the fire. Everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, now we're seeing a lot more people have power back on. Town hall, we got our power back today. Of course, the fire department's been running our emergency services hub through the fire department. They've had a generator. So we're starting to see things come back around. Just everybody's wore out. Nobody, I don't even know if the state and the national federal government was quite prepared for how this storm
Right.
turned out.
Yeah. And I would imagine with me, Mayor of Cowpen, Jared Spencer, I would imagine, Mr. Mayor, that your budget probably doesn't have a contingency for a storm cleanup like this, huh?
No, nothing on this scale. The good thing about it, the governor has stepped in, declared it a state of emergency. Our town's in a state of emergency. FEMA, we've been in contact with FEMA and other contractors through FEMA. So the help is coming. We're finding ways to fund it, pitching in ourselves. But the community is what is really surprising. I mean, I've always been proud of Cowpens. I was born and raised here. My family's from here. I've never seen the unity that we've seen this past weekend. I mean, most of the roads, most of the main thoroughfares through Cowpens, SCDOT didn't clear these roads. Contractors didn't clear these roads. These were men and women, neighbors helping neighbors, everybody bringing their chainsaws as safely as they could, clearing driveways for their neighbors, bringing ice next door to those who needed their insulin to be on ice so it wouldn't hit room temperature. Just families feeding other families, ones that had generators, providing a place to come and charge your cell phone or get in touch with your family members, providing what I've never seen unity like this. And it just makes me even more proud of the town.
Yeah.
They have really stepped up, gone above and beyond, and I'm sure this same story's played out all across the upstate into North Carolina.
Yep. Yeah, you really see the best come out of people in a situation like this, to where they rally around and neighbor helping neighbor. Now let's talk a minute about the assistance that you have gotten so far and what your expectations are as far as from county, state, federal agencies helping the town of Cowpens.
It's coming through the direction of, we work through Spartanburg County, so we've been in contact with Spartanburg County Emergency Services. They've directed contractors our way as far as the tree cleanup, trees in yards, trees by the side of the road and all that. So we've made preparations to have that cleaned up starting as early as next week. Cell phone service, we've been in contact with emergency services for first things first, our emergency providers network provided. We've had generators provided for us to get cell towers going in clear communication with each other. We've had Verizon come in town and set up mobile hotspots or mobile antennas, whatever they call them. Churches have come through, other charitable organizations, businesses have stepped up. We had one business on this side of town that's giving away free propane tank. We're doing all we can do, working through Spartanburg County to do what we need to do. Others have stepped up, filled that gap. So if there's a need, there is somebody ready to step up and help you in whatever situation you're in. So.
Yep. Mayor Spencer, have you found that as far as like getting fuel, has that been an issue in the Cowpens area for people being able to get the gasoline they need?
It's been a huge ordeal. With everybody else running where the gas was, we've got gas stations in town. They had the gas, they didn't have the power. So, unfortunately, we've been at the mercy of whenever the power company gets them back on the grid, which they have now. As far as I know, we may have one gas station that doesn't have power, but the other 2 or 3 have power. So everybody, as of now, it doesn't seem like gas is an issue like it was this past weekend.
Right. Yeah. And what about your grocery stores and some of the other stores like that where people just need the necessities?
Sadly, Cowpens doesn't have a grocery store at the moment. Everybody goes to Smartburg. The closest is 5 miles away, which is Ingalls and others. We've had a Publix that stayed open somehow. I don't know if they had a generator. So people have been able to get groceries. They've just been having to stand in line like everybody else for an hour or so to get them. Oddly enough, we're right on the highway, 30 minutes from Gastonia, 35 minutes. So a lot of people have been trekking all the way up to Gastonia and beyond, getting their groceries, filling their cars up with gas, and coming on back to Cowpens.
I see.
So we are, blessed to be right here on the highway where we can get around if we need to. If it gets too bad, we can ride north if we have to get supplies and come back.
One final question for you. Jared Spencer with me, mayor of Cowpens. What do you see, other than the money, I would assume, what do you see your biggest obstacles in getting back to somewhat of a normalcy?
Money being the biggest obstacle, of course.
Yeah.
In a small town like ours. That's the biggest obstacle, getting the funding we need. We have resources allotted for this, but nowhere near this scale. Nobody could have ever imagined. I would have never imagined we would have needed this kind of contingency plan. But patience and money, I guess, are the two biggest obstacles. People are just going to, I know everybody, I'm wore out myself. Everybody's wore out. They've been without hot showers and coffee and rest for the past couple of days. It's been hot, their air conditioning and all that. But
sure.
We are coming to the end of this, hopefully. Now it's cleanup time. If people can just have patience, everybody's want their yard. People have been out working in their yard, getting their limbs and trees cut, and their houses back in order and out to the road. Just having patience, knowing that this is going to take months to get cleared up in our town.
Sure.
It might take years around us. We're not far from Western North Carolina, so all around us, it's going to take years to see any kind of normalcy. So patient, let the town get the funding, let us start doing the cleanup. We'll be in good shape then if we can just patience and money.
Jared Spencer, thank you for your time. And as I mentioned at the beginning, this was sort of kicking off a series of conversations with mayors in the upstate. I'm sorry that you had to be the first under these conditions. Maybe we'll circle back in a few months, and when we can talk more about the good stuff happening in Cowpens. How's that?
Yes, I'd love to talk. We have a lot of history. I'd love to dive more into history of Cowpens and what Cowpens has to offer now, but I do appreciate you letting me be on with you today, Joey.
Sure thing. Always a pleasure. Jared Spencer, mayor of Cowpens. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself if you're looking for a new appliance to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com. dawpickens.com. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Boy, have we had a busy few days this week as we, in the Carolinas, continue to try to uncover, to try to recover. The more we find out, the more images that we see, the bigger the devastation actually is. A lot of people yesterday, myself included, began getting electricity back. Now, of course, it's once we get the services back, electrical, internet, and all, we still have the cleanup. I mean, basically, the utility companies right now, they're just trying to get the services back. They're cutting the trees down off of the poles and moving them out of the way, but we got to come back and, as Mayor Jared Spencer told us a few minutes ago, the mayor of Cowpens, then comes the cleanup, and that's going to be a big job too, and that's going to take months probably for the cleanup. A lot of text messages coming in. I appreciate that. I appreciate you checking on me. A lot of you saying, well, how are you and Peg and Jesse and Simon? We're doing good. we are doing good. Again, we got electricity back yesterday. On the text line, Jennifer writes, we're out of touch in the aftermath of Helene. We got hit, but nothing compared to what has happened in the mountains in Lake Lure and Chimney Rock and on into Fairview and Asheville. No one imagined this, I don't think. It's completely tragic. We're still cleaning up 4 holes in the car shed roof made by Widowmakers. It got wet inside from the torrential rain. Andy has the roof temporarily mended. She said we were back and forth inside the house and then outside on the porch during the worst of the windstorm on Friday, fearful that trees would uproot and crash into the house, and shocked listening to the snap, crack, and pop in the woods as trees fell or uprooted or just splintered like they exploded. You know, that was a scary thing, wasn't it? We experienced that as well. We have a lot of trees around our house, and Jennifer described it very well. It was snap, crackle, and pop, and you kind of cringed every time you heard that pop, hoping that was not the tree or the limb that came through your roof. Jennifer says the cleanup continues. No power, no internet, no water. A small generator runs off and on, keeping the refrigerator going and our phones powered up. We can get Spartanburg and Greenville TV and light from a lamp after dark before we turn off the generator till sometime the next day. Then it's flashlights, candles, and a very cool lantern we had just purchased at Costco as we have dinner on the porch over a turkey fryer burner that runs on propane. Now, you were prepared there, weren't you, Jennifer? We are surviving with patience, prayer, and good neighbors, and that's what we all have to do. We have to just survive patiently and help our neighbors. As of yesterday, just a quick update here. And by the way, you can get information about outages on 989WORD.com, the radio station's website. We have a full list of resources for you. If you're in the Carolinas, you can find the information there, like the South Carolina Emergency Management Division, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. We got all these telephone numbers, websites, email addresses for you where you can check on the various power outages, whether it's Duke, Dominion, Greer, CPW, Lawrence Electric, Blue Ridge. We have them all on there. So just go to 989WORD.com if you need information. If you need information about some of the resources like from the Salvation Army, Miracle Hill, South Carolina Red Cross, the food banks and all, we have all that on there too. So again, 989WORD.com is where we have a lot of resources for you so that you know where you can get the information that you need. As of yesterday, quick update on what we know from late afternoon yesterday. Power has been restored to 32,501 members, representing 51% of the membership. This is Lawrence Electric. 20 of 32 substations are back online, they say. Reports been received estimating transmission to some parts of Abbeville, Anderson, Lawrence, Newberry, Union, Spartanburg counties may be restored by October the 7th. Until then, power is not flowing to their distribution lines that bring power to those neighborhoods, homes, and businesses. Again, now, Duke Energy had text out earlier that it would be October the 7th when our electricity would be on, both in Greer and in Lake Kiowee. But again, we got both of them back yesterday. So when you hear October 7th, that's sort of a worst case scenario. You may get it before then. A lot of people are. Lawrence Electric crews, they say they're working in rotating shifts 24 hours a day. The co-op has 200 crews representing more than 400 line technicians and right-of-way workers. In other words, they have a small army out there. They say that they remain grateful for members' understanding, patience, and for the other co-ops who have come to travel to the upstate to help out. We're seeing that a lot. You see the trucks from many other areas. Blue Ridge Electric, the cooperatives, they say that substations are now online and energized. They're hopeful that they'll be able to get more and more of their members with service as well. The South Carolina Electric cooperatives yesterday, they said that South Carolina's electric, that they've now restored power to more than 280,000 consumers statewide, making significant progress in the days since the storm hit and knocked out lights of 425,000 consumers. So again, we're about at the halfway mark there. I guess that's great progress considering Duke Energy estimated they have 6,000 telephone poles knocked out. 6,000 poles. And when they estimate it can take 3 to 4 hours to replace each pole, you can kind of see what you're up against. Cooperatives were asking that their consumers, their customers, continue to prepare for extended outages in some areas. So again, the fact that they're saying by Friday, hopefully many of people will have it back by Friday. Hopefully you will have yours back by Friday, but no guarantees, particularly depending on where you are. They reported that of some of the electric co-op workers have traveled from far away as Kansas, Iowa, Arkansas, Minnesota, Ohio, New York, Tennessee, Virginia. They say that about 14 upstate substations remain offline. Again, that's down from a total of 80. So we're making progress. I guess that's the point I want you to know. Truckloads of equipment coming in. The cooperative's material supplier is delivering 30 tractor-trailer truckloads of equipment supplies to the crews every single day. A volume of materials that rivals the response to Hurricane Hugo, they say, back in 1989. So, again, and I know it's easy for me to say be patient if you're one of the ones who still does not have electricity, and maybe you're one of the ones who it may literally be Friday, or maybe not. It could be over the weekend, but just the main thing is to keep you and your family safe. And again, go to 989WORD.com. And you can see all the resources if you need help. And email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. I love to get your emails. I'll try to help you if I can. You can also text me as well. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and forward this edition of Just the Truth to some friends. Just click on the share button. Send it to a few of your contacts, because if we're going to build our community and if we're going to win in November, we got to build an army of conservatives. The way we beat Joe Biden is through educating people, and no better way than encouraging them to listen to Just the Truth. Hey, keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your emails always welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow special, $25 for the My Towels 6-piece towel set when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. We're back again tomorrow. Hope you will be too. Remember, God's got this. He's still in control.